And we are live.
Better live.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. This will be another patrons only chat. Chat with patrons. I was going to try to do one of these once a month. We did one back in September.
Hello,
It's
everyone.
Yes. This will be another.
Hold up. What's up?
I had to mute the stream. I still had the stream going.
All right. Yeah, that's
why we had that feedback, yeah, because I was still trying to figure out how to get my audio working, but it's working now. So.
Oh, we're going to make the stream as soon as it comes out. There we go. Sorted.
Yeah, so we did one of these, I don't know, about 5 weeks ago, and it was fun. I'm going to try to do one of these patron chats, once a month. So, and I'm glad you guys were able to join me here right at the start. We've got Paul, Alistair, and Climby. So,
hey.
This, of course, was a big week because Ubuntu release week. So,
yeah.
What have you guys tried out?
Well, I've been playing with 18.10, and I cannot get used to having to move my mouse all around the screen to get to different options. So using Windows style menu. Yeah. Otherwise, it's great. I think it's really slick. But having to go to the top right, shut down, or bottom right to get the applications, then I don't know. I just can't get used to it.
No, which version were you doing?
18.10.
The main version of Ubuntu with GNOME?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yes. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
Are there other versions that you don't have that style menu? I mean, where the menus are scattered around the screen?
Well, I mean, yeah, I was talking about like the flavors like Kubuntu and Xubuntu, but yeah.
Oh no,
Yeah, right. I got you. Okay. But yeah, the way they put that menu in the bottom left or whatever, that little launcher, yeah, it makes no sense down there. Really, Unity, it had it all right because everything was in that top left corner. The window close buttons were in the top left corner. The menu was there. Your dock is there. The global menu's there. The HUD was there. You never had to move, from that top left corner. And yeah, now it's completely the opposite. You got so much mouse travel all over. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to think about every move I want to make. Every time I want to click something, is it this corner or that corner?
Yeah. Matter of fact, yeah, Unity changed my mind because there was so little mouse travel in Unity, even though, it's not like the perfect desktop environment for me. You guys know I love minimal window managers, but I loved how little mouse travel there was in Unity that to this day, whether I'm running OpenBox or, XFCE or anything else, I'm always changing that window manager. I'm putting the buttons on the left side of the screen or the left side of the windows because it makes sense.
Yeah, me too.
So
it's so annoying.
After using, buttons on the right side, my whole life, but then, once you start thinking about it, yeah, it makes sense.
Right. And have you played with the new Manjaro beta? 18 Manjaro?
No, I haven't.
18? No, I've been playing with that too, and wow, yeah. I like it. I think I'm gonna have
the new Manjaro beta, yeah, yeah, because yeah, you're good. It was a little low when it was resting against your chest, but yeah, when you picked it up, it was good. Now I haven't checked out the beta. Maybe when they do the official release, I'll check it out. On the channel.
Pretty solid.
Yeah. Now I don't run the XFC edition of Manjaro. I do the i3 edition, so that's why.
Right.
I haven't checked it out on my personal machine. It's because I wouldn't. Well, I'm not going to say I wouldn't run it. It's just not something I usually would
running
use.
It on off the USB stick, and it's so fast you'd swear you're running it on the drive.
Yeah, and that being said, Manjaro's XFCE edition is fantastic. Like if people are looking for an XFCE distro, it makes a lot of sense. Unless you're looking for something rock solid stable, then being on a rolling release may not make sense. But if you're fine with rolling release, absolutely, Manjaro is fantastic.
Manjaro is a nice release.
Yeah.
I don't mind rolling release.
Yeah. Alistair, you taking a look at any of the Ubuntu flavors this week that were released?
I did look at Lubuntu.
Yeah.
With the LXQC. That's coming along nicely, LXQC, I've got to admit.
That is the one I haven't
then-
actually downloaded and taken a look at. Yeah, I need to.
Mr. Derek, honestly, it is quite good. It's much more slick than the known version, than the official version, in my personal view, on my machine. But like over the last couple of days, I've been doing the BSDs. I did Ghost BSD and TrueOS with the Lumina desktop. Oh my god. Don't want to talk about that at all.
Yeah, I hate. I've only
the menu system more than anything else.
Yeah, I've reviewed 2 BSDs on the channel. I've reviewed TrueOS, and I hate it. And people trolled me about that review. But as soon as I saw the Lumina desktop, I was like, hell no, we're not doing this.
Well,
like
put me in touch with another YouTube channel which I watched about the Lumina desktop, and it can be configured quite well, but out the box on TrueOS it's just atrocious.
Yeah.
Ghost of us used XFCE and it was really nice.
Yeah. Well, I understand, the TrueOS guys, they, wanting to make their own desktop. It's BSD licensed too. The Lumina desktop's not a GPL. So it makes sense for licensing purposes. But you know what? The free BSD repos have GNOME and Plasma. I mean, install a real desktop.
Absolutely. Actually,
any of them. I don't care what.
I did install on a VM free BSD 12 beta, but I cannot get X to work. I just can't get X to come up. I'm still working on it though.
As far as the Ghost BSD release, you guys know I played with Ghost BSD for a few days on my main machine for
get it up and running.
Yes, and I never could get that thing. But you know what? That Ghost BSD was based on FreeBSD. The new Ghost BSD they're basing on TrueOS, and they're saying it's because TrueOS does a lot of the heavy lifting for them. So some of the problems that I was having with their previous version, I might not have with the new version. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'll take a look at it or not, but I may give it a go.
Yeah, some parts of TrueOS was actually quite nice to use. It was just a desktop I couldn't get on with. Once I changed it to XFCE, later in my video, I did change it to XFCE. It behaved really quite well, actually. I was quite pleased.
Well, hello.
Hey, hello. Dan, how's it going?
Hey, how's that Ubuntu going?
Yeah. You know what? The Ubuntu 18.10 releases are all pretty solid, although very, very uneventful. As far as the ones I've taken a look at now, Lubuntu will be the exception. I haven't taken a look at Lubuntu because that's a major change. They're moving LXDE to LXQt. What installer were they running, Alistair? Did they move to Calamari yet, or are they still
they're still using Ubiquity.
Yep.
Lubuntu's on Calamaris now.
Lubuntu is?
Yeah, the Lubuntu Mate won't work in VirtualBox unless you want to really fiddle with it. They have release notes about that at their website.
Yeah, I had major problems with Ubuntu Mate using well, you guys, if you watch my video, I did that video in VirtualBox, and the VirtualBox guest editions build fine, but when you reboot, all you're going to get is a black screen. Then Martin Wimpress commented. He said, "Well, you don't have to build them from source." Just install them from the repo, sudo apt install, VirtualBox, guest, X11. I did that, but you reboot, it's still the same thing, so I'm not sure. There's really no difference getting it from the repo and building it from source. I got a black screen installing the guest editions. So
what happened with me is I actually got the beta version, couldn't get it in VirtualBox, so I had this extra hard drive, and I'm like, I'll just put it on regular hardware. So I put it on regular hardware, and then I was playing with it for a while, and then I started web browsing, and then I ported my email over. Now I'm moved into it.
Well, the black screen wasn't a big deal for me because, I was just doing that mainly to run through the install on camera. So after I got through the installation portion of that video, rebooted, and it's a black screen. No big deal. What I really wanted to show, new users especially, is just the install.
Sure.
So then I just rebooted the VM, I attached the ISO again, and took a look at the live environment, because the live environment guest editions are already there and they just work. So that's what I ended up doing with that Ubuntu Mate video.
Actually, I can't find nothing really wrong with it other than its software updaters and installers don't work right yet.
No, I had a problem with GW in a couple of them, actually.
It's actually, I think... one of the updaters doesn't work right, and they've eliminated one of the software downloading centers, and they give you a software boutique now.
Yeah, the software boutique. That was in the last version, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure that was in 1804. It's not a bad graphical software center, that software boutique. But you're right, there is some bugginess, really, to all the software centers. Because I had little hiccups in all of them. It seems like sometimes, too, the repos don't update the way they should. Like, sometimes you'll open a software center and you search for a package is there, nothing comes up. And you're not exactly sure how to update the repo in the graphical package manager. At least I'm not. I open up a terminal, sudo apt update, and all of a sudden, I can find the program, So.
Yeah, that's about where I am. I just wrote a terminal script. I click on it, and it does all the work for me.
But,
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I always struggle with those graphical package managers because I never use them. Like, I looked at the software boutique in Ubuntu Monte. I won't look at it again until 1904 because, even if I was running Ubuntu Monte, I do everything in the terminal as far as, software. So
I mainly look at them just to see if there's a package available, and that's it.
Yeah, for package discovery, it's a good way. Yeah.
Yeah,
You can do that. I use app search.
Yep.
App cache search, yeah.
Yep.
If I'm looking for a package on the fly.
Yeah.
I'm 50-50 actually with package manager, either 50% synaptics or 50% update. It just
if
depends.
I want to do some package discovery, if I'm not sure what to search for, Synaptic is great in Debian and Debian-based systems, because then especially like sometimes you have to build something from source, and you're looking for a certain dependency, but you're not sure of the name because, in the terminal, it'll give you the name of a dependency that's not building for you, but you can't find it in the Debian repos. So you just start guessing at the name in Synaptic. You just start typing stuff, and eventually you'll find, the correct name for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, you were going to say, Paul?
Yeah, the only issue I found I was having was when I would go into the software package, software manager, I would click on the category, install a program, and then I couldn't go back to the category setting. I had to reboot Ubuntu to get back to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I had that one problem, and I can't remember which Ubuntu flavor it was. But yeah, there was one, I did a search, or I went through a category, and then I tried to find a way to go back. And for the life of me, I could not find any way in that graphical window, there was no back button or anything to get me back to the very first page of the Software Center.
All right. Well, there's a back arrow, but it wasn't working.
Yeah.
Until I rebooted the machine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
Yeah. Oddly enough, one of the software centers I've been most critical of, the one that seemed to work the best was Discover in Plasma.
I know. I always go back. I don't know. My main, I mainly go to Synaptic.
Yeah.
I don't have any issues with that.
Yeah. Well, Synaptic, is, it's not a. I mean, it's a GUI, but and there's no like screenshots, and it's not pulling stuff down. It's not basically a front end to a website, like these other software centers. They're basically just front end to websites. As a matter of fact, these distros could do themselves a favor instead of creating these graphical software centers. Just have a browser open and take you, to the website like Ubuntu. I mean, they have all their software on the web, and that's all their software center is. It's just a front end to a web page. So.
Yeah, I just prefer. I don't know. 99% of the time, I just go to Synaptic because I have no troubles with it. So.
Yep.
Once in a while, like if I'm trying a new distro, I'll check out the software. But I don't know. I don't need to see the pictures and everything. I know what I want. So it's easy to go to Synaptic.
Does anybody really know what they want?
Well, you know what I'm saying. I have an idea.
I think I do until I see something.
Right. Something interesting.
Yeah. Oh, we've got a question in the chat. Do any of the Patreon supporters here, do any of you guys have your own Linux channels? I know a couple of you guys do. So,
I don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically, we all have YouTube channels? Because if you're a YouTube user, I mean, it links to a channel, but you may not have any videos posted there.
No, mine's empty. I'm too busy on all your channels.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I'm doing, don't you, Dan?
Yeah, of course, Alistair,
Yeah, I have a channel.
he's got his channel, Present Arms. Is that the correct name for the channel
Yeah,
still?
Present Arms and Linux.
Present Arms and Linux.
Yeah, on Linux, yeah.
On
I
Linux,
changed
that's right.
it long ago,
Yeah.
didn't I?
Well, you don't change quite as often as English Bob. You know,
That's true.
he changes his name like most people change their underwear. Every time I take a look at his channel, it's a new name. We got the Windows help guy, the Linux help guy, English Bob, trucking on Linux. You know, I'm back on Windows, and then every week it's something.
He's a comedian.
Yeah.
He's a good lad.
Yeah,
though.
yeah, Climby or Q1 Fiend. You guys got channels?
I do not know.
No. Okay. And people often ask that, especially on the open chats when we get 15, 20 people here. They don't know who all is in the chat, and they don't know who has a channel. And there's no easy way to put that information in the chat because no one can post a link in the chat except me and anybody that's a mod. I would have to make everybody here a mod, which I've got no problem with that. But you don't think of that until everybody. Yeah, right. So, then to make you guys a mod, you'd actually have to post in the chat because
God.
right, because I've got no way to give you until you actually post something. So.
But being as we're streaming, I can change my nick on Zoom.
Yeah, got my evening beverage here. I got off work about 2 hours ago, so I was gone all day today. I couldn't make the normal early morning chat. So a little bit of a different time. I hope it didn't throw anybody off too bad, although it was nice to change it up. I know some... Yeah.
To be honest, when I woke up this afternoon, I thought I'd already missed you, and then I had a look and thought, oh, it isn't on for another 16 hours or whatever it was.
Yeah, cool. because I meant to post yesterday on YouTube and on Patreon about the time change. Well, I forgot about it, and then I went to work yesterday around like 1 p.m., and I worked till nearly midnight, and then I realized, dang, here in a few hours, people are going to get up thinking I'm going to be live streaming. I'm not going to be live streaming because when I get up, I'm going right back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's no real easy way to post something like that, like from your phone on YouTube. I could have posted it on Patreon, but of course, everybody on YouTube that's not a patron, they still would have had no idea what was going on. So, the mobile app for YouTube kind of sucks as far as if you're a creator. Doing any kind of like community posting or editing, any kind of descriptions, and you can't do any of that. Basically, I can watch my videos. That's about it. I can't do anything else with them. So, and let's see what have I missed since the Ubuntu releases. We mentioned the Ghost BSD release. Probably won't look at FreeBSD. Probably won't look at that. Farron, might look at the Farron release.
I was thinking of looking at that as well. Because isn't it an experimental KDE or something?
I took a look at Farron like right at the beginning of starting this channel about a year ago. I took a look at it and never looked at it since, so I'm sure it's come a long way since then.
Yeah,
Seems pretty solid. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, interesting project. Farron based on Mint, which is based on Ubuntu, which is based on Debian.
I know, it's like I'm getting
the fork of
one
a
of
fork
those
of a fork.
nesting dolls.
distro burnout.
Well, when you go 4 levels down, I thought you were in limbo at that point. So, if you guys remember Inception, you could only go.
I was like, I got this Ubuntu on my machine now, and I'm like, okay, I want a different desktop. So I installed OpenBox. I wasn't happy with OpenBox, so I added XFCE. So now I have an operating system with 4 desktops, depending on which mood I'm in each day.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, technically, if you install LXD or LXQt because they use OpenBox, you've got like 2 sessions for that. I mean, you got the full LXQt desktop session, and then you have an OpenBox session you can log into.
Well, I didn't realize that until I put the OpenBox in first and wound up with a completely black screen.
Yeah. You know, there's a few window managers like that. OpenBox is like that. Xmonad is like that. The very first time you install them, the install takes seconds. And then you log out, you go to the Light DM login manager, you see your OpenBox session or Xmonad or whatever, you type in your password and you hit enter, and nothing happens. No, you think nothing happened. You just logged in, it's just that's your desktop. The wallpaper doesn't change because there's no wallpaper set. You're just sitting there looking at the screen, and you're actually like looking at your watch. Man, is this ever going to load? It already loaded. You know, it's just not configured in any way. So
you got the dark side of the moon.
Yeah, it's even worse with those tiling window managers like Xmonad because you log in, you realize, okay, this must be the desktop. Well, what do I do now? Unless you happen to know the key binding to open a terminal, you're not doing anything at this point. So, you can't even exit out of it unless you know that, you know, Alt, Shift, Q, or whatever quits. If you didn't read up on it ahead of time, you're just stuck.
Yeah, I just kind of graduated from newbie to dangerous.
That's about most of us Linux users, actually.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because we never settle in.
Yeah,
We never settle on anything.
yeah.
All I know is I still have out control backspace enabled to clear the X server when I screw it up.
And Rocco from Big Daddy's in the chat. Hey, Rocco, why don't you join us? Send me an email, Derek, D-E-R-E-K, at distrotube.com. I'll hit you up with the link to the chat. He mentions he was looking for the cat this morning. I'm assuming he was looking for the chat this morning. I do have a cat, but I never put him on camera. Because I don't want to be seen as one of these people exploiting my cat the way Tom from Switch to Linux does. You know, I'm not going to put my cat on camera just to get shameless views. And
say no names.
As long as he doesn't get the fire and the cat mixed up.
No, I just don't trust my cat in the room, you know, with the keyboards and wires. And yeah. Because my cat's a little more rambunctious than Tom's. Not quite as well fed either. So.
That's probably why it's more rambunctious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he hangs out.
Can't move, that's why.
Yeah, he's mostly outside these days. He's about 10 years old and likes to hunt. He's always bringing me dead animals and leaving them at the doorstep. Never understood. Yeah.
He's showing you he's working.
He's trying to feed you.
Well, sometimes he'll leave them like unmolested. I mean, he'll kill them, but you know, you won't be like blood and guts everywhere. But every now and then he'll bring me back like the beak of a bird, nothing else, just the beak. Or with like squirrels and small rodents, he'll eat everything but the stomach. I guess it doesn't taste good, so he'll bring me the stomach and leave it on like the welcome mat on the front door.
Oh,
and, yeah, it's very disgusting. Yeah.
That's gross.
Yes, it is. Well, you know, they're not like dogs because your cat is a different kind of, you know, if you were small enough for it to kill and eat, it would kill you and eat you.
Oh, yeah,
it's not loyal to you in any way.
I don't think I would trust my cats if they were 3 or 4 times their size.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's like these people that die alone in their apartment with their pets. You know, the dogs typically won't mess with your body, and they'll moan and cry, maybe let the neighbors know. The cats just, well, I got a couple of months of free food, so they're just waiting. Yeah, Toss is going live in 8 minutes, says Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, I'll have to miss Toss.
That guy's always searching to find his own time space.
Who, Toss?
Yeah, it's like, you know, everybody else has got a stream going, and he's looking for that time slot that works for him.
Yeah, you just don't look for a time that works for... I mean, you just do, like me, my options are limited when I'm home, I stream, you know.
Right.
I can't pick and choose, so if I don't do it right now, we're not getting one in today, so... I don't worry about who else is streaming. If there's 4 other folks streaming, oh well, you know. But I do understand, like, it seems like I never do anything Friday night live anyway. But this past Friday, I saw like 4 different Linux channels all live streaming at the same time. Now, they didn't all start at the same time, but at one point, you know, Tom was going, Toss was going, I think Spatry might have been, you know, there was just...
He was when he doing something with...
Yeah. And then, getting outside the Linux world, I mean, I had Linus Tech Tips was also streaming one night this week. I know a lot of Linux guys, technology guys, like to watch Linus. So,
especially when he gets things wrong, like he did with the last couple of streams, yeah.
Yeah,
I can watch him anytime.
40,000 grand's worth of PC, bye-bye. No, happy.
Yeah. Well, the only one recently that I thought was bad was when he did his video about Proton on Linux. The Steam with Proton. Yeah, that wasn't a good video for him.
No,
because it's like everything he did was wrong. It's like, do you even
know?
He
did a follow-up one that actually, he thought it was a little better than he originally did on his first video.
Yeah, because he made the first video look a lot harder than it was. I mean, he did everything really the wrong way. Half the stuff didn't work, and then in the follow-up video, he kind of does things the way all of us would do.
Well, we all got on the horn and said, "Hey, homie, what are you trying to do to all us Linux dudes? We buy your stuff too."
Like he's using Ubuntu, and Ubuntu's pretty easy to install the drivers and everything. You get Proton set up, and like he's trying to build stuff from source, and just randomness.
Well, he is a Windows guy, coming. It's a bit of a dark side to him.
I have noticed this, and not necessarily with Linus, but some other folks, other YouTubers, when they check out Linux, other tech channels that mostly focus on Windows or Mac, when they check out Linux, they typically make it harder than it really is, especially with things like Ubuntu. I don't understand how they make Ubuntu seem so difficult, but some of them, make it seem like everything's just completely broken in Ubuntu. I'm like, every time I take a look at Ubuntu, I'm impressed. Not as because I don't use Ubuntu, but everything just typically works. So I'm wondering how these guys are. How are you breaking these Ubuntu installs?
They probably got someone confusing them.
The exception is with GNOME.
Well,
GNOME is anybody can break that.
No, right, yeah. I was going to say, if they're having difficulty with Ubuntu, wait until they get onto Arch or Gentoo or Slackware. They're completely lost.
And then they usually get trashed in the comments, when they kind of misconstrue, how easy Linux can be sometimes, especially things like Ubuntu and Mint and these kind of distros.
We used to call that flaming.
Yeah. Because, like, hey, dude, you got 6 million subscribers to your tech channel, and, I've used Linux for 2 weeks, and I already know how to do all the stuff you can't do in your video. What's up? I think it completely trashed when So. I'm kind of glad I don't have to deal with some of that. I don't get trolled too often. When I do, it's fun though.
Oh yeah.
I ignore the trolls, but sometimes they make me laugh. You get those crazy messages, and you look at your phone, and it makes you chuckle. Especially when they're wrong. I've had people message me and tell me what a complete idiot I am. I did this wrong, did that wrong, and just curse me, and in a YouTube comment, and like literally everything they said was wrong. And
I could this guy no.
Yeah, like I could respond. I could respond, but I'm not going to. But I remember one guy. He just tore me a new one, cussing me out, saying I did this wrong, and I could have linked to a Wikipedia page, just one page in Wikipedia that refuted everything he said, and but it's like, why bother? The guy obviously he just wants to argue, so just let it go.
Joe Collins knows all about trolls.
Yeah. Well, it bothers some people. Joe seems to be one of those people it bothers. Like nothing bothers me as far as things people say, or I'm one of those people. I don't take anything personally, but some people really get upset when people criticize them. So,
well, Joe is just a special kind of guy with a special kind of way of feeling things.
Well, yeah, it does take some. It does take some practice in life to be that way. To be honest,
he's not real thick-skinned.
Yeah, but you also have to understand that it does hold you back in life a little bit. If you're one of these people that are constantly taking things personally and letting it bug you, you know, it's like one of these things, you know, animals can smell fear. These trolls can smell it too, you know. I'm telling you, and I want to tell Joe that sometimes. That's like, no, don't show any kind of emotion or anything, because they're gonna say, we got him now. Don't show weakness. Never show weakness. So.
Well, you gotta have a thick skin in this game. You just can't take anything personal, you know. Just rub it off.
Yeah, not just like I said, not just in this game, just life in general. You know,
no,
you let it. In everyday life, people. There's some people that just live to get under other people's skin, and if you don't play their game, it really pisses them off. Like if they want to hold an argument, like with me, and I just look at them and I don't say anything, and they know they're not getting to me in any way. I'm not mad in any way. Then they get even madder. Another tip I've learned in life, I'm getting off Linux for a bit, is if you ever have one of these people come up to you and start talking to you that you don't want to hold a conversation with at all, a little psychology. Just look at them. Just stare at them. Don't say anything. Just stare at them while they keep talking. It will make them so uncomfortable, eventually they're going to assume you're crazy and stop talking to you and go away.
Maybe that me up in my
That does work.
It works 100% of the time. I use it all the time. It's one of my favorite tricks. Yeah, a crackhead, you know, comes up to you in, you know, Walmart parking lot and tries to talk to you. You just stare at him. Don't say anything. Eventually, he's gonna be like, "Man, this dude's messed up. Let me get away from him."
You're the messed up old foreign. Doesn't speak a word of English.
Yeah. Yeah, Big Daddy. Yeah, trolls are everywhere. Just don't feed them. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, keep them locked under the bridges.
Yeah, I just don't have that kind of time. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Kind of like you know, these. I mentioned, you know, why I had to get off of Twitter because of all the drama on Twitter. I don't see how people have the kind of time to have these fights on Twitter all day. I've got friends like that all they do is argue politics and religion on Twitter, and like, dude, what are you doing? Are you changing anybody's minds on Twitter, arguing with them?
Facebook is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I found another one that's like, now that G Plus is gone, it's called MeWe, I think.
I haven't heard of that one.
Linux, like, it's quite good over there. Peaceful.
Somebody messaged me the other day about a new, I guess, decentralized platform. One I had never heard of. It was called Friendica or something. Some weird name. I know it started with the word friend.
Oh, another one to join?
I haven't checked it out, but people were saying it's new and it might be the next big thing. I don't know. Mastodon is kind of blowing up right now. Diaspora's never really caught on, but I'll post a link.
Mastodon really has caught on now.
Yeah, Mastodon is growing very fast. It's shocking, actually. I mean, Mastodon's been around, you know, a few years, but it seems like in the last year, really, it's kind of taken off. Like celebrities, you know, and like political figures, and you know, people that would usually hang out on Twitter. Some of them are starting to use things like Mastodon.
I just can't go there. It's just not me. I rather just get on the tube with you right here and talk to you either in the chat or live.
Yep.
What I like, it's more personal.
Yeah. What I like Mastodon is it's an easy way just to message people that want to follow you. For example, people interested in the channel. I mean, if you're subscribed to my Mastodon account, and I send out a notification like 10 minutes before this stream started, I could go on my Mastodon to, hey, I'm streaming in 10 minutes, and you know, however many followers I've got on Mastodon, everybody would know we're sitting here having this live stream right now. Would be good for an open stream. I oftentimes on those Sunday the open chats I'll post on Mastodon, so all those guys, you know we're streaming and we get some of them in here. Because I do have people following on Mastodon that really don't follow the channel. So they're just interested in tech and Linux, you know, related talk that sometimes goes on Mastodon. So
yeah, I quite like looking at the local stream, and sometimes I even dip into the Federation stream to see what's going on there as well. That could be a giggle at times.
Oh yeah, you get some crazy things. If you look at the federated timeline, you would be surprised. Yeah, some of the matter of fact, you would be surprised at some of the instances of Mastodon out there. Some of the topics that these things cover. I mean, one of the largest ones. I don't want to get demonetized here, but one of the largest instances of Mastodon is just for quote sex workers, so prostitutes. So, yeah.
Okay.
And that is one of the biggest instances of,
Well,
but the decentralized nature of the thing, anybody can set up their own instance, their house, their rules, So.
Well, since they took down Backpage, it kind of put a damper in their business.
Yeah. Yeah, we're buffering a little bit. Somebody's saying in the chat. Let me check the.
Yeah, that's why I killed my videos to improve my stream.
Yeah, buffering a little bit.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it is on my end. So that is absolutely on my end because I see it in
you see
OBS. Yep. Yeah, I am gonna step away for just a second. Make sure nothing else is going on my network. I'll be right back.
His cat's chewing on his wires.
Meanwhile, the rest of us are going to Mastodon to check out this channel he was just talking about.
Yeah.
Our internet connection's bad. I'm trying to live stream.
Watch everybody leave the YouTube chat. Well, according to this, it's streaming back in HD now, but kind of not.
No, I'm on my phone, so it's hard to.
Alright, I seems to have got it back.
Yeah, and I did nothing stepping away, but now I have a green. I have no idea what the problem there was for that minute or two where the connection was bad. Nobody else is on the network.
Derek.
Doing it.
Yeah. Hold on.
They had to reroute it through China.
Yeah. And someone cut the cable in the mid-Atlantic again.
Yeah, we really haven't had any connection issues with any of these chats lately, so it's kind of strange. But when we first started, too, the first couple of guys that were here, I know when Paul first joined and I was having some audio issues, I was also having some connection issues, too, so. But it seems to be sorted out. All green in OBS, all green in the YouTube live preview, so. I guess I can kill the live preview too, just in case that's giving us problems. Make sure I don't have any.
Back to the browser and back.
Yeah, make sure we don't have any torrents downloading.
Make
sure Octopi and any of those graphical update tools are not trying to do anything. Those things can really affect your streaming.
Strangely, my little update tool in the taskbar just went off and says, no packages for you. Oh, fine.
Well, I did have mine up. 218 updates available for me in Manjaro. But I only update about every 2 or 3 weeks. So.
Oh, that ain't too bad, actually. I seem to get a new kernel update every 4 or 5 days of late. I'm on 4.18.16 now.
Yeah. I got to the point where I don't even, I'll take the kernel upgrades, but I always, when I log in, I choose at the grub boot menu, I always go back to the last LTS.
Yeah. I do use the LTS, but I'm also a tester in PC Linux OS for the kernel, so I do have to install it and test.
So these past few months or whatever, I've stuck with 4.14. When 4.19's ready.
4.14.72, I think.
Yeah. When 4.19's ready, I'll move on to it. But yeah, having a new kernel every week, I don't want that. So
my grub list is getting seriously long. I've got to start removing some.
I don't even know what kernel I'm on. The funny thing about kernels is when you change them, they severely screw up your virtual machines.
Yes, they do. You have to install
all you got to do is do VBox config and you should sort that out for you, Dan.
Yeah. So if I got a kernel that's working with all my hardware and everything just fine, I tend to leave it alone.
Yeah. The sbin.v.config.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes, depending on the distro, I could do it automatically for you anyway, because I have it as DKMS anyway.
VirtualBox will usually, if you have that problem like he's talking about where you have to run sbin/vbox config, VirtualBox knows you have to run that. They'll give you a little pop-up and
Yeah,
actually
when
give
you
you
try to open the
right.
yes,
And they'll
sorry.
and they'll actually give you that command to run.
Yeah, I'm on 415 OEM. Whatever that
415.
means.
I thought you was on the Ubuntu Mate. I thought it were on 418.
It did, but I rolled it back to 415.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah. I'm sure you could install an LTS kernel, which was 414. Wonder why 415 was still available for you. You found that in the repo?
Well, actually, I didn't even know what kernel I was on until I ran a check through the terminal, and Ubuntu don't really, especially Mate don't give you any tools really to play with your kernels. So I got a grub customizer from the repo.
Yeah, well, I'll give Mate some credit there, though. Most people don't really need to play with their kernels. That's why they don't give you a tool for that.
Well, Mint does.
Normally stick with it.
Yeah,
Mint gives you a kernel tool.
So does Manjaro.
Yeah, but I mean, especially for newer users, I wouldn't want them, adding and removing kernels.
Oh, I know. I went to 415 because I was using it in Linux Mint Cinnamon, and it worked really well. So I kind of just stuck with it.
Mm-hmm. See, 415 is the LTS kernel for Ubuntu 18.04. So Canonical is patching 415 for new updates, new hardware features. So that's why it's on 415. If you're on Ubuntu base, that's going to be the LTS kernel.
And I think Canonical always patches their own, kernel. They have their own version of the kernel.
Well, they're up to 4.18.10, and it's called generic. I don't like anything that says generic.
Oh, generic just means that it's the kernel for the widest range of hardware.
Right.
Basically, everything's either a module or compiled into the kernel.
Mm-hmm.
It's the big kernel, right? That's the one with all
What's like what we call huge S.
Yeah, or Gentoo. If you've ever compiled the full kernel on Gentoo, that's the one that takes you an hour and a half.
Yeah. Strangely enough, I had to compile a kernel for an external sound card, and that took about an hour. After finding where the module was, it took about an hour.
Well,
and then, of course, I rebooted and got the kernel of death flashing, caps lock, kernel panic. I'm thinking, oh yeah, I didn't update the Unix hardware. So luckily, I had another kernel fallback. Booted into that, just updated kernel ID, booted back, it was fine. I thought that was strange.
I really haven't had the pleasure of experiencing a kernel panic yet.
Oh, you will.
I have.
I will.
Well, I say you will. If you're running rolling release distros like Ali does, like I do, because you're always getting a new kernel, and you need to install new kernel headers, and all the, you'll eventually reboot one day, and you'll get that kernel panic.
I tried Manjaro 3 times, and I could not get it to stick for more than a couple of weeks.
I've been rather lucky in the distro that I used that in 4 or 5 years I haven't had a kernel panic, unless I've done it myself.
Yeah, static release distros, you're not going to get a kernel panic because unless they had a kernel panic when you got it, like Ubuntu is not ever giving you a new kernel. I mean, they'll update like minor stuff, security fixes for the current kernel it's on, but they're not going to give you that latest and greatest kernel that just came out last week.
Yeah, it took me 2 years to get my first kernel panic.
Yeah,
I survived.
You survived.
Oh yeah.
They used to be a lot more common than they are now. 10 years ago, it wasn't that unusual. Now, I'm usually shocked when I see a kernel panic. I was like, oh, I forgot these things existed. Now, let me get my USB stick out and reinstall.
And call the doctor's office. Man, help me. I'm having a kernel panic.
Like, what?
Can you send an ambulance?
Yeah.
The Dutch have the kernel panic, which is just after nuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you usually try to fix your kernel panics?
Me, yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I can fix them.
Yeah,
It usually shows like attempted to kill in it, and you think, oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
Let's take it back a step. What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Sitting
Yeah,
it, RD.
I used to be the same way. Nowadays, like, well, I can be up back and running in 15 minutes. It's like,
I'll just do it for a mental exercise, you know.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I can understand that. Matter of fact, some people on the internet will get mad at you when you tell them, you know, you had this problem and you reformat the drive and reinstall. Why'd you do that? You could have done this. You could have read this in the Arch or Gentoo wiki. You know, in 3 hours you could have been up. And, you know, it's like, well, yeah, I could have been.
I've been there,
If
done
you're
that.
gonna do all that, you might as well go back to Windows.
Yeah,
No.
but I do.
No further panic in
That's
the
what it
world will
takes
make
to
me go
fix-
back to Windows.
That's what you're weighing the scale on: 3 hours to reinstall Windows or 3 hours to fix your Linux distro.
Yeah, but at least I know once I fix my Linux distro, it's going to run for 3 years without breaking. Windows, I've got no way of guaranteeing that.
At least with Linux, you can use another distro to hijack your drive and get your data back.
Exactly. Especially
there
if you're
goes-
sitting at home, just install another distro and just point to the other home, you're up and running.
Yeah, Rocco
There you
says,
go.
Dan, just run Manjaro for a month and you will meet a kernel panic.
Absolutely right, Rocco. You're right there, Rocco.
Yep. Yeah, that's not true, Dan. It doesn't take a month sometimes.
True.
Yeah. Now, actually, on rolling release distros too, you have to be careful the age of the ISO you download, because you can get some that are several months old, and then the first time you update the
300
system,
updates to
you know,
download.
right?
Look, I did mine from 3 years ago
Mhm.
and updated it to the latest, and it didn't break. It actually took all the 300 and
Wow.
somewhat up. 3,000 updates, not a problem.
Yeah, the biggest one I've tried in the past few months, I had an OpenSUSE install in a VM that I kept for several months, Tumbleweed, and I forgot to update it for like 6 months. I found it on an old drive of mine, backup. I was like, wow, this thing hasn't been updated in 6 months. It was running Plasma. It's like, wouldn't it be cool if I could update this and it still worked? So I fired up the package manager, and there was 2,200 packages that needed to be updated. I went ahead, updated those 2,200 packages, rebooted, kernel panic.
I did the same thing. I actually done it on my channel, quite early on my channel, actually, yeah. Updated 3 years worth of updates, 2015 to 2018. Took it like a champ. The only problem it had was it was trying to bring X up, and it brought up this error saying, would you like to see why X is broken? I clicked no, and it asked again. I went, click no. The next come up. I went, oh, sweet. Okay, fine. Work anyway.
That's
it
when
prob-
you need like 8 gigabytes of updates for a 2 gigabyte package.
Yeah, I've actually run out of disks before trying to run an update. Of course,
No.
because I keep so many VMs around, sometimes I run out of space accidentally.
No, saying that, I did that with, I think it was a Ghost BSD. If you watch my Ghost BSD, you actually see me run out of disk space and the VM freezing, and I had to go delete another VM and then unpause it to carry on.
Yeah.
But I didn't edit it, I just left it in there.
Yeah, Mark Yates, he's going to hop off the chat to go check out Toss's stream. Yep. Maybe if he's still streaming when we're done here, I'll go see what Toss is doing.
I'll go raid
Take care,
his
Mark. Check you later.
Yeah, Rocco says he's not lying. I'm assuming he's not lying about Manjaro. Yeah.
No.
It hasn't given me that much trouble.
But then again, he's been having printer problems and all kinds of problems as Rocco of late.
Now, we do have a couple of interesting questions in the chat. Babbler is asking, is Void Linux rolling? They are.
Yes,
They're an
yes,
independent. Yeah. And GFY, do you guys use a different bootloader than Grub? I know on PC Linux OS, they offer Lilo and Grub as an option for the installer.
Actually, they've depleted Lilo now, Derek. We've only got Grub 2 now because of EFI and MBR. We only have Grub 2. We've actually deprecated Grub and Grub Lilo.
Okay.
But I keep it on mine. I keep the on mine just in case there's older machines out there.
Because I actually, on one of the PC Linux OS installs, it might have been one of yours, or it might have been...
Yeah, it could have been the open box one I did for you, Derek.
Yeah. I used Lilo because it was an option.
I had Lilo left on.
Yeah. I never used Lilo. I always used Grub, but I tried Lilo, and it worked. Worked fine. So there's no issues with that. There's other bootloaders out there. I don't know if it's still under development, but for a long time there was a Grub alternative out there called Berg. Grub spelled backwards, Berg.
The Super Grub.
Yeah, there's a few different ones.
Yeah, I find.
I'll say from experience, if you do a lot of UEFI multi-booting things, Refind is a really good bootloader.
Refind. That's the one I was thinking of, Climbia.
Yeah.
Yeah, Randy in the chat is saying, DT, shame on you. Do you have the game on? I watched the second half of the Saints game. I got home just in time to see that craziness. But as far as whatever the Sunday night game is, no, I don't even know who's playing. But I'll probably check out the second half of that one when we get off of here. So I haven't missed a Saints game this year. I had to miss the first half today because I was at work during the first half. But for those of you that don't follow the NFL, today's game was interesting because the Saints were down a lot kind of late. They scored like 17 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to take a one-touchdown lead with like 20 seconds to go or something. And then the defense came out on the field and gave a quick touchdown right back to them. But then the Baltimore Ravens missed the extra point, which cost them the game. So just dumb luck that the Saints even won that game today. The kicker missed the extra point and game over. I remember an interesting play many, many years ago. You guys can YouTube it. They called it, what was that play? The Music City Miracle or something. One of these where you lateral a pass back and forth on the last play because it's, you got to go 80 yards down the field. You can't throw it that far on one play. And oddly enough, the Saints were involved in this play. They start lateraling it, 12, 15 times, and they actually score on this play. It's the craziest play you ever seen. And, all they need to do is kick the extra point to tie the game and go into overtime. They missed the extra point. So it's like the craziest comeback you ever saw that never happened because the kicker missed the extra point.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to be in that kicker at shower time. That's all I know.
Yeah, but those guys get paid.
Oh, they get paid enormous amounts of money.
Yeah, to kick a ball.
Obscene amounts of money.
Yeah.
I can't kick a ball that far.
Them guys get enough money to last the rest of their lifetimes.
And then some.
I don't know if the kickers get that kind of money, but they make a little. Like minimum wage in the NFL, I think, like for the guy that's riding the bench and never sees the field ever this year, I think they make over $300,000 a year. That's like the minimum wage for them. So even those guys are doing okay.
Any one of those.
Yeah, but you've got guys, with more than $100 million contracts now. So.
Did you guys hear me? Is my audio okay?
Waiting for the Powerball next.
Yeah.
Yep. We can hear you, Clemmy. I'm sorry. What was that, Allie?
I was saying, I was just wondering how many will take advantage of $1.2 billion on that lottery.
Yeah. I didn't buy a ticket for it.
Not yet.
Unfortunately. Yeah. I probably would have won had no. People often ask
you come on, you just expletives all over the place, and off. That's it. I'm on Jamaica,
Yeah. People always ask, if you won the lottery, would you still work? Would you do? Me? Hell no, I wouldn't still work. That's like the strangest question. Work? What's that?
I'll live stream from my island.
Yeah. Oddly enough, there's been studies like on lottery winners. Like if you were kind of bad with money previous in life and never had two nickels to rub together, winning the lottery doesn't help because you give them, a few $1 million within a year or two, and they're broke again. Because they still haven't learned how to manage money in any way. Just giving them money, still doesn't fix the problem. Where people that were always good with money and were able to, put a little in the bank. You give them the lottery winnings or whatever. They still have every dollar of the lottery winnings because they haven't touched it. So.
Now we know why that Mastodon instance is doing well. You mentioned earlier.
Yeah, some not safe for work stuff there. Yeah.
I use a question in the room, Mr. GFY, saying I've also seen a package called sysv init. Sysv init is the original init for Linux of BSD, slightly changed, and it's what I use on my distros is sysv init.
Yeah, sysv init was the init system forever in Debian. Slackware's init system is kind of a version of sysv init, a fork of it. At this point, it's not exactly what sysv init was. But yeah, sysv init was the init system until really what Debian Stretch, the latest Debian 9 was when they made the move to systemd.
That's right.
So, Big Daddy says good night, Derek, and everybody else. Good night, Rocco.
Good night, Rocco. Have a very pleasant night.
Good night, Rocco.
Yeah.
Night, Rocco.
The BSDs still use sysv, don't they?
You know what? I'm not quite sure. I'm pretty sure.
I'm not sure either.
There was a different init system for TrueOS. It looked very similar to a Mac booting when I watched it.
I think you're right about TrueOS now that.
But GhostBSD was different again. I think that did use sysv. I'm not quite sure what FreeBSD itself uses. I didn't actually notice.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. TrueOS, does some different things. They use OpenRC. Okay.
OpenRC, that was it.
Yeah. When you mentioned that, I'd remembered too that they didn't use, a normal init system like you would think. Well, I say normal. OpenRC. Gentoo uses OpenRC, so. But yeah, forever until you got to Debian 9, Debian was on sysv init. Ubuntu was on Upstart. They created their own init system called Upstart because they really didn't think sysv init was worthy. They wanted to create something new. Systemd didn't exist at that time, so Canonical created Upstart, and Upstart was really good. And then Systemd was created. Debian had the option actually to choose either Upstart or Systemd as a replacement for sysv init. They ended up going with Systemd.
After a big fight in the channels, I remember.
Well, the big fights. I don't know if it was a big fight amongst the folks in Debian. But, they had a vote on it. And Systemd won the vote like 5-4 or something.
Something like that,
over Upstart. And then, Ubuntu said, well, if you're going to move to Systemd, Systemd's a okay init system. We'll quit working on Upstart. They just didn't want to use sysv init.
No, I still use sysv init. Uses parallel boot. I mean, it gets to desktop just as quick as any other init system.
So Systemd now, because Debian and Ubuntu and all those Debian and Ubuntu based distros are on it, and then you add Fedora and SUSE and Arch, there's really not that many distros out there that don't use Systemd now. I mean,
well, I think Fedora would have been the first one to use it because it was a
it's a Red Hat project.
Puttering is a Red Hat guy, isn't he? So it makes sense that Fedora would have moved to it first.
Yeah. You're talking about the main dev, Lennart Pottering.
Yeah.
He created Systemd. He also created Pulse Audio. He's kind of a controversial figure because he created 2 programs that are kind of controversial. Not a lot of people like the move to Pulse Audio. Not a lot of people like the move to Systemd. So I'm not even sure, does Lennart Pottering still do anything with Linux? I know, he got a lot of hate, for a number of years, and at one point I think he was saying he was just going to give up on the open source community and go, work on Mac or Windows programs.
I'd have to look him up, to be honest.
Yeah, because you haven't heard anything for a while. And I know, like I said, he got tired of the way he was treated, within the community.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
No, he did take a lot of flack for Systemd.
Yeah, but he gave some back too. So I mean,
Oh, fair enough, he did. Oh, yes, he did.
Yeah, he was one of those.
The main complaints against him was if there was any complaints, he used to ignore them.
Right.
A lot of the times, he used to ignore bugs and all that kind of business, just didn't listen.
Yeah, and that
was
is
a big complaint against him, man.
You know, that's
I mean,
always the complaint for most open source projects is people will post a bug report. Well, the biggest complaint with bug reports is the bug reports are ignored, or sometimes they're not even allowed to be posted, or you can't even figure out how to use some of these bug reporting tools or bug reporting websites. Like some of them are so crazy that, you know, to take the time to figure out how to even report a bug for your software, if you don't make it super easy for me, after about 5 minutes, I'm giving up, right? I'm just not even going to bother telling you about that bug.
Yeah.
And then if I can't report a bug, you know, I may not even use your software because I'll be searching for something that works. So.
Got to agree with you there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times it's like that. Luckily for the main things, like it's pretty easy, mailing lists, whatever.
Yeah, but bugs are there's always going to be bugs that take years to get fixed or never get fixed. You know, the fix is eventually those bugs become obsolete sometimes. The thing that frustrates some users is I report a bug that's an obvious bug, and the developer says, "Oh, that's not a bug, that's a feature." You know, okay, you know, that's, you know, GNOME is famous for that. You know, when GNOME 3 first came out, everybody, okay, what'd you do with the icons on the desktop? Oh, that's not a bug. We meant to take those away. Well, can you put them back? No, we're closing this bug report, and you know, will not fix. You know, that's what they label it. Will not fix.
Yeah, will not fix. It's fine. You can get along without any icons on the desktop.
Yeah,
a lot of people do it.
Yeah, my file manager no longer works like it used to. Yeah, it's not a bug, it's a feature. We took all those features out of Nautilus.
Yeah. Well, why would you want to open Nautilus's root from a command line file?
Right. Hey. I tell you what, though, GNOME 3.30 and Ubuntu 18.10, getting back to that for a second, was not a horrible experience. Now, Ubuntu is not vanilla GNOME. You know, they are obviously doing adding some extensions of their own, doing their own work on that. That bar on the side is not bad. It kind of mimics the old Unity bar. The only thing I hate is where they have that launcher for the menu. Why is that at the bottom of the screen? That, you know,
that's a good question.
Surely their programmers, their devs at Canonical can figure out a way to get that thing to the top of the screen where it really belongs. It's just strange at the bottom. It makes no sense being down there. You know, I would think the bottom of the screen, you would want to put like a sys tray or a trash can, you know, a clock, you know, something that you don't even really need to click on, you know. But having that menu down there is too much mouse travel. Yeah, it really is. It's just too much. Now, me being kind of a keyboard, a keyboard user, I'm just gonna, you know, hit super or whatever. But for most computer users, they don't know how to use a keyboard. They're just they're point and click, and that's too much pointing and clicking.
What's funny is that I tried Ubuntu, you know, on and off over the years, and that's the main reason that I don't use it. Yeah. I just don't like having to travel all over the screen to do anything.
Mm-hmm. And some of the other stuff I looked at this week, Ubuntu Mate is still kind of neat because you can configure it in so many different ways. They have that tweak tool where you can set it to look like Windows, set it to look like a Mac, set it to look like Unity did. And the Unity one, what they call Mutiny, is actually really pretty dang close to what Unity was. I was actually shocked. I mean, it has a global menu that actually kind of functions. Not too many people do a global menu well. Plasma does one that's pretty good. But yeah, the Mate desktop, I wasn't aware that you could actually do a global menu like that in Mate, but it works. You know, you get your dock on the side and your full screen kind of launcher menu. And later this week, I think, I'm actually downloading the ISO for Ubuntu Budgie, or I will this evening. I'm not going to do it on the stream here, but I've got the torrent for that. I'm going to take a look at Budgie, I think, tomorrow. That was the version I was actually most interested in checking out on the channel, was Budgie. I'm actually one of their patrons, the Ubuntu Budgie people.
That's been my favorite flavor out of the 1810s. I still have that installed on a partition on my main machine.
Yeah, I subscribe to those guys, their Patreon, because I like Budgie. I like the Budgie desktop environment. I want to see Budgie succeed, and I'm not sure what kind of development Solus is going to get in the future. So whatever may or may not happen with Solus, I hope Ubuntu Budgie keeps things going. And I don't want to see Budgie die. I think it's a nice project. It's what really GNOME 3 should be.
Yeah, it's a really nice looking developed desktop.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It looks like Ali stepped away from us for a second. How did he get that on the screen? Is that a screenshot or is that his actual desktop? Is he screen sharing right now?
I think it's a screenshot. I know you can set your user picture in Zoom, and then when you turn your webcam off, it'll display the user picture instead of your name. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was some neat way to show your desktop, other than sharing it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And checking out some of the latest Linux news I've missed in the past few days. Let's see. Yeah, Canonical has their user stats again, which they did with 1804. Reporting, everybody that gives them that information during the install, reporting back to them. It tells you what most people's CPU and GPU and screen resolution and all that. I doubt it's anything earth-shattering there. I know, like for the CPU, like 99% of, the Ubuntu desktop users have a single CPU. Yeah, shocking. I mean, how many people run dual CPUs? I'm surprised they actually track that data. That's a strange one to track. Let's see, 98% of all Ubuntu 1804 installs were 64-bit. So that would be why they dropped 32-bit support. Yeah, so 2% were downloading 32-bit images. So that's why it's time to go ahead and drop 32-bit. Only 12% of the users chose the minimal install option. I thought that would be higher. Yeah. 91% chose to download and update the software. That's not shocking. I'm not sure why anybody wouldn't go ahead and update the system during the install. And it's ticked on by default even, so.
Yeah. It's strange though. You can tick that on, install, and it will say, oh, you got updates. No, just do that.
Yep. Oh, it almost always does. You're right. Even though it updated something during the install, when you first log in and run the update tool, you'll still have a few packages to update.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Anyway, nothing too interesting on the user data there. I'm not sure why that created such controversy, them asking that. The only thing of a personal nature that you're giving to them is because you can get the data that you're giving to them.
Yeah.
Like they know that I am in the central time zone. They know the time zone I'm in. They have no IP, no real idea of my location other than they know I'm somewhere in this time zone on the globe. It's like,
well, most of us are on DHCP anyway. Our IP addresses would change anyway after a couple of weeks. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're not getting any of that information.
Not really interested in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I never understood why that was such a big deal. Again, as somebody that doesn't even use Ubuntu, but it's like some people I think like to hate on Canonical. I think it's an anti-corporate kind of mentality. We get a lot of hate toward Red Hat too in the Linux community.
Yeah, Red Hat, SUSE, Article, they're all hated in some way or another.
Yeah, oh yeah, because they're not the community, right? They're just corporate greed. They're out there to make a buck with open source software. Well, guess what? There's nothing wrong with making a few bucks on open source software as long as you're doing it correctly. I mean, everything that Canonical and Red Hat and SUSE put out there, it's all GPL'd, right? It's all open source software for the most part. Occasionally, they'll remember what was the Ubuntu Cloud? Ubuntu One.
Yes.
Remember that before it died? Now that wasn't open source. That wasn't open source for very good reasons, for security reasons, but for the most part.
I remember using
that. But things like they were up against things like Dropbox and OwnCloud at the time as well.
Yeah.
Dropbox closed source open. But now we've got Nextcloud, which is rather good.
Nextcloud is where everybody is on now. Yeah.
Nextcloud is rather good.
I put Nextcloud on my Raspberry Pi a couple of weeks back to play around with it. Went ahead and did an install. My Raspberry Pi was running Raspbian, the Debian Pi version. And went ahead, got snaps installed, and then did a sudo snap install Nextcloud. And it just works. So, really neat.
The only thing I had a problem with actually was the database. I had to swap it from, I think it was SQLite.
Yep.
I think it defaulted to, and I had to use Mariam in the end. Just too many users on it. So we swapped to Mariam.
It wasn't using the Maria DB by default. It was using SQL.
The Maria DB, yeah. Okay. But it wasn't that wasn't set up for default for some reason. It was set up as a SQLite, and that just fell apart as soon as you added users to it. So we had to start over again using Maria. Yeah.
What distro did you install that on?
Oh, that's on PC Loss. It's the distro. It's the PC Loss cloud. It's got 600 users on that now. Constantly uploading, downloading, which is why the upload and download speeds when trying to get my distro are extremely slow. And bandwidth gets sucked.
Yeah, well, you know what? You can get some of these universities to donate your space. What we need to do, actually, is get your distro on DistroWatch. Have you submitted it over there yet?
No, I've never actually submitted mine.
You should submit
I think the only ones that actually do get submitted are the official ones. That'll be the Plasma one and the Mate one. Yeah. The rest of the community distros are normally just on their own piece of lost servers itself. Because all the repos and that, they're already on universities and whatever. Yeah. So once you download and install, all the updates and that are as fast as NL, UUG, or whatever the repo you choose in the thing. Which is a funny thing, saying that, in apps, when you go to the repos, you're only supposed to tick one. At the full list, you just tick one, the one nearest to you. But I was watching a video the other day, and he ticks every single one, and I'm thinking, he's going to break that. Yeah. He's going to break that install. Because not all the repos will get updated all at the same time.
Right, because all it's going to take is your package manager to connect to that repo that's down or no longer exists,
Yeah, Synaptic has a habit, actually. If you haven't got an internet connection, you try Synaptic in my distro, it could just crash. As soon as you I click apply, it could just close out. I'm not having none of that.
And I guess we shouldn't have brought up Systemd and Pulse Audio and Lenart Pottering because we had some people bringing up Lenart in the chat. Yeah. Void uses the Runit init system. We didn't mention Runit, the init system that Void Linux created. Void uses their own custom-built init system called Runit. I reviewed a distro on the channel called Artix that also uses Runit as their init system because they're Arch-based, but they're one of these anti-Systemd distros. Yeah. So, we've got a couple of these reactionary distros out there. Dev1, Debian, Debian, but without Systemd. That was really a strange one. Artix, though, because their webpage, if you go to their webpage, their entire website is talking about how we don't use Systemd, we hate Systemd, Systemd. It tells me nothing about their distro, only we don't like Systemd. And I'm thinking, man, this distro is going to be garbage. Because if you can't tell me the good...
decent distro.
Yeah, but it wasn't bad, actually, when I took a look at it.
Wasn't bad.
I was like, man, y'all need to change that website because that is not a good look. You don't want to come off as...
People don't really care what init system they use. As long as the computer boots they really don't. Give them monkeys what's underneath.
No.
It's just a speak.
Yeah. I know that Antics also makes a point about being Systemd free as well.
Yeah. Well, Antics 2 is really a different kind of distro. I mean, they're geared toward really old hardware. Everything about Antics is, really minimal. And it's just a strange collection of software in general on Antics. And I'd say that in a good way. If you have a machine that's like 12, 15 years old, Antix is great. If you've got a really nice modern machine, you may not want to run Antix because you're probably not going to run most of the stuff that's installed by default on Antix. MX would probably be a better option.
I quite like MX. I quite like what MX done with the Inch system. You have a choice.
Yeah, and it's still, no system D. Now you can.
System D. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Which you want to run a boot. No, I don't know of any other distro that does that. I can't think of one, especially Debian based.
It also caused a problem for these non-system D distros. It's not a problem now because these have been fixed, but just a few months ago, System D was a requirement, a dependency for both Snaps and Flatpak. I know Snaps, that problem has been solved, and I think Flatpak too now. That's been solved. But if you weren't running the System D init system, you could not use Flatpaks and Snaps, and that's kind of a deal breaker for some people. Because occasionally you'll... Yeah. Well,
I'm glad to fix that because there are a few more distros popping up that actually shouldn't system D now. So for Flack and Snap to get any kind of foothold, although they've got all the system D distros like all the Ubuntu's, all the big names, there are still a few out there that can't use Snaps or Flatpaks because of that. Right. So I suppose they have to do that so they can get their system out of the base.
If you talk user base, probably 95% of all Linux users, 95% plus, easy, using a System D distro.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but we're never going to all agree 100%. This is one of the things people often argue. Can we agree on one init system? Can we agree on one display server? Some people even go so far as, can we just agree on one desktop environment? Heck no. You're never going to get, because of the nature of free and open source software, if you license something under the GPL, okay, we get 100% agreement on System D. Literally, the next day, somebody's going to think, well, this is great, but you know what? I can fork it and do my own thing.
Absolutely.
And then it just starts again, right? As long as we have this freedom, you're going to use it. That's the great thing about having this kind of freedom.
We all have different tastes, We all don't have the same taste, which is what Linux is about. We all cater for different.
I do understand why, like
the tiling window managers. Yeah. I'm more of a DE guy. It's the way it is.
We can't even really agree on one bootloader because some still use Lilo.
That's true. Yeah. Grub, is still not universally used.
Text editors are another good one.
Yeah, but there's a lot,
Those are a dime a dozen.
Yeah, text editors are not a problem. Where things like the init system and the display server, some of these things give us problems.
Those need to work.
Well, yeah, and some of them don't really work that well. I mean, there's a reason why they're developing Wayland. It's because X is not all that. Same reason why Lennart Pottering developed Pulse Audio. I mean, there was a reason Pulse Audio was needed. Also, it's not that great. Jack is okay, but Jack is a pain to set up.
No, Pulse Audio did have a need, especially like we was behind Windows with sound up until Pulse Audio in that we couldn't really use more than one sound stream at a time. It was just, unless you use someone like ESD or you had a KDE, which had its own sound server, and then you was okay. But if you was using anything like GNOME 2, and you tried to play an MP3 and a video at the same time, you'd have this error, can't access dev DSP for whatever reason.
No. In the chat, Babbler is asking about LXQt. Is it still in beta? I don't know if the LXQt desktop is
stable. Let me have a look. I'm pretty sure I downloaded 18.10.
Well, whether they call it a beta or not, it still isn't like it's not that mature of a desktop environment. It hasn't been around that long. I would say the same thing about Budgie, even though I love Budgie. It still needs some work. But are they usable? Absolutely. So, like, you're not going to have just things crashing on you all the time because you're using LXQt. I mean, it's good for everyday use. So.
I have to go, guys.
All right, Paul. Well, thanks for hanging out.
Okay, Paul. You have a very good evening.
Yeah, it's good
Good
to
night.
be here.
See ya.
Yeah.
Have a good night,
All
everybody.
right.
No.
Good evening.
Take care.
Hey, Paul. Good night.
Good night, Dan.
Oh, I don't have it anymore.
And I had another. Uh-oh. Hey, Climby.
Hey,
I don't have any idea what just happened there.
uh,
That was strange. Zoom closed out. I was like, we all got booted.
Okay, here we go.
I think it was because Paul was the host according to Zoom, and he ended the.
That's
actual
right.
session.
That's
When
right.
you click re-mention, you
Yeah.
click left at all.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Paul was the host of this meeting because at the very beginning of the stream, he joined right like 2 minutes before the stream started, and I had some serious audio issues. Nothing was working. Pulse audio was not working. I rebooted my machine, and then I joined the stream after him. So technically, he was now the host of the video conference. So, yeah.
Okay.
I that's good though that happened. We're gonna remember this in the future. So I never need to leave this conference. So I need to always be here. So,
Always be there. Yeah, Ubuntu is actually stable on 18.10.
yeah.
It's no longer BTF.
By the way, I posted of course, the link to the video conference in the chat because I didn't want to take the time to post it on Patreon. I'm only going to be here another 30 minutes, so it's no problem being public.
For the last half hour.
Yeah, if anybody else wants to join in, that's fine. I know there were some people over on Patreon asking about the link. Let me check that out. But yeah, this was, just another interesting moment here on the live stream. I have so many of them. It's always fun live, but even, you guys know when I pre-record my stuff, I make so many boneheaded mistakes, and I just leave them in.
That's exactly what I do, to be honest.
Yeah. There is no reason to edit video. I mean, these people that spend hours trying to get the perfect video, and they say something wrong or do something wrong, and they want to clip video and don't do it. It's just, and you know what? People usually just appreciate you just leaving it all in anyway. So.
Well, especially during a live stream, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So.
Oh, absolutely.
I've learned that.
Murphy's got a long arm.
Yeah. I've had some live streams that were just crazy. Matter of fact, I've had some I was actually wondering the whole time, why is anybody actually watching this right now? I had, that one where I was running antics, and everything froze. My computer froze up. It's basically like this chat here. You can see me talking. Nothing on my keyboard and mouse would work. OBS is open. We're streaming. But the only thing I can do is take the power cord out of the wall and kill my machine. And that's all I could do. I just sat there staring at the camera for an hour and a half talking because that's all I could do. And people watched it. Had another one where I was having some audio issues and people started giving me advice on what to fix in the chat. And one of them was to type, kill all pulse audio. in the terminal. I did that. That was an interesting stream too, because it took me like 10 minutes to get audio and everything back up and running. The stream is of course going while you guys see me open up, Pavu control, pulse audio volume control, and open the terminal, start pulse again, and the whole time I'm thinking, why is anybody watching this?
That was a fun live stream.
And they're all having a blast in the chat, like, oh, I can't believe you did that.
It was a great show.
Yep. Yeah, and over on Patreon, Mark Yates has already left. He had actually joined. He had made a pledge to join, I guess, but he's already over at Toss's stream. He was going to go catch Toss, so I was going to let him in. But yeah, since I posted the link publicly, any of you guys in the chat, if y'all want to join us for the next 30 minutes, we'll go ahead and open it up. But at 9 o'clock, I'm going to go ahead and kill the stream. Looks like the Linux Gamer is also streaming right now. Toss is streaming. I'm streaming. Yeah, several streams going on.
Michael Tennell was streaming earlier too.
Yep. Well, his streams, you got to be careful with his streams because he can sometimes go for 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long stream, that is. That's a long day.
Well, yeah, he will often go 3 or 4 hours on a stream. Like, that's not unusual for him. Where me, an hour and a half seems like a good amount of time. Most people are good with an hour and a half. Might go 2, but you go longer than 2, I think people become kind of bored. Even the people on the video call here. If you guys have been here since, when did we start? 7 o'clock.
Right,
9 o'clock. You're ready to go, right? You've got things to do, just like I've got things.
We're all done.
Right.
We got no more to say.
Yeah. These people that do these 8-9 hour streams, which supposedly I've never pushed the limit, but YouTube does have a limit on how long a stream can go. I want to say it's like 10 hours or something, where you will eventually get cut off on YouTube. Like, you can't just like stream 24/7. And we got Christopher joining us. Paul. Paul R. Yep. How's it going, Paul?
Good.
Yep. Audio is working.
Good.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, because I already know the next question is my audio working? So I should create a T-shirt. My audio is my audio working?
You should definitely try that T-shirt.
Well, last
Paul?
night I was on Big Daddy Linux with Climby, and I couldn't get my audio working last night.
No. Yeah, I haven't been able to join the Big Daddy show in the last few weeks. It was weird because I have a rotating schedule at work, and I had a period of about 4 months straight where I had every Saturday night off, which was weird. And now I've got this run of bad luck where I'm working almost every Saturday, so I don't get to hang out with Rocco and the gang that much over there.
Yeah, I did have to miss it last night myself, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had like 20 people on last night. He had a full house, and he started at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a little sleep the night before, so I knew I wasn't going to make it until 2 a.m. my time.
Well, I can tell Rocco how to, keep the numbers down on these chats. He keeps a regular schedule. It doesn't take folks too long to figure out, every Saturday night at 9:30, I can join Big Daddy over in his, yeah.
I actually joined, but I was so tired from today's events, I just couldn't concentrate. They were talking about elementary, and I had nothing to contribute.
Yeah.
So I just left.
The Big Daddy, and you know what? Now that you mention it, that time slot that he's doing, it's, what is it? If you're Eastern time zone in the U.S., it's 10:30 to 12:30 after midnight. That's late in the U.S. That's even worse, depending on, if you're in the UK.
It's pushed it back an hour and a half now, so now it's from now on it's going to to start at 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Now, if you're in Australia, that time is good. So
it works for the audience. That's all that matters.
That's why I didn't mind too much, changing the time on this one. I mean, I had to, but, switching from morning to evening does give, different people the opportunity to both watch the live stream and participate in the live stream that normally can't because of, differences in time zones and everything. I used to only do these live streams on the channel. I would always stream live around 9 o'clock in the evening, my time, and I would always get, especially people in Europe, your live streams are great. I can never catch them live, though. I always got to watch the replay. Can you do something a little earlier or a little later? And in my case, no, usually I couldn't, because a lot of times I can only stream, like I have 2 or 3 hours free, at a certain time of day, and that's the only time I can do these. But yeah, if I had a little more free time, I would always try to do a couple in the morning every month, and a couple in the evening every month, just to accommodate everybody. But yeah, pro tip for you YouTubers like Allie, if you ever start live streaming, if you keep a regular schedule, that's the trick to what Rocco's doing. That's why I get such a good crowd. That's because nobody has to guess when he's on. Like, I keep everybody guessing. Nobody knows when I'm going to do anything on my channel. But I always know when Rocco's going to be around. So
Yeah, that's what I plan to do, and try and keep it a time that suits the majority, if I can.
Yeah, keeping a regular schedule. Keeping a regular schedule also helps with the problem these days with YouTube notifications. So
yeah,
you can't always rely on the notifications. So
no, you can't. They're worthless.
Yeah.
YouTube's passive aggressive like that.
Matter of fact, I'm subscribed, of course, to Toss. I mentioned that. Did I get a notification about him? I got one on my phone. I did not get one here on my desktop, though. That sometimes happens. I notice I get a notification on one and not the other. Sometimes I don't get a notification on either one.
Yeah.
I did actually get a notification on both, that he was live.
Yeah. That happens to me, too.
Swings and roundabouts with YouTube nowadays.
Yeah.
You also got to make sure on YouTube, too, when you subscribe to someone, you also have to hit the little bell to get the notification.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Right, yeah. And so you always have to click on the bell if you want notifications. Yeah, Randy mentions, Michael's broadcast, Tux Digital. He could take a nap and he's still broadcasting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we've got Trucking and Linux in the chat as well, Hello there, Steve.
Now, Michael, he's good with those kind of marathon live streams because he can just talk and talk and talk. Like, he can talk all day, where some people find it a struggle. Once they run out of things to talk about, they're out of ideas. Michael never runs out of anything to talk about, so that's why 4 hours pretty much every time he streams.
Sounds like his brain is just going. So.
Yeah.
A little bit too fast for me, yeah.
Could be.
Okay, Jerry, thank God, gonna have to go.
Yep. Thanks for hanging out, Allie. I'm gonna hang out a few more
good
minutes.
Night. Good night, all. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks.
I'll see you next time.
All right.
I'll see you all later. You take care of yourselves.
Take care.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.
I'm drinking a little bit of my Japanese beer this evening. For those, I always get questions about that in the chat too. Sapporo. I don't know.
Nice.
Nice.
I always drink
good beer.
something. Yeah. I always drink something different. I never drink the same thing. 2 days in a row. I'm always trying new things. This is not that new. I mean, I've had.
Hopping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had Sapporo many times. Yeah, Yingling is one of my go-to drinks. I really like their black and tan.
Yeah, it's really good.
That's a good beer. Yeah. My favorite beers, though, of course, German beers.
Yeah.
A beer for every distro.
Yeah, we've got probably more beers than distros out there. Beer is one of those weird things, especially, you've got a lot of microbreweries around your area. I mean, depending on distribution, like I've got probably 100 different beers I can buy here that, depending on where you're at, even in the U.S., you can't get some of the stuff I can get, and vice versa. So Powerade Zero. That's the best beer. So that was what Paul was drinking. Powerade Zero. Is that really a 0-calorie Powerade?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about that one. Yeah, so no sugar at all. How does it give you power if there's no sugar in it?
Electrolytes.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Paul, did you get to check any of the Ubuntu releases this week? We'd asked everybody else, but
Yeah, I was still on the couple weeks ago challenge with the 1810s.
okay.
The Kubuntu, that's the one I liked.
Kubuntu, yeah. Kubuntu
That's my
is
favorite
always
of the bunch.
Kubuntu is solid. I will give it that. Plasma, now they're on 5.13. It's not bad, and I'm not a Plasma fan, but it's not bad. I could run it and I could live in it. I may not be able to respect myself in the morning, but you know I could. You know, I ran Plasma for a month on Manjaro though at one point, and I had some issues with it, but it seems to be getting better every version. 5.12 was solid. 5.13 seems to be solid. Haven't got a chance to take a look at Plasma 5.14 because that's what they're on now. If you're on a rolling release. And I'm sure eventually you'll be able to upgrade that in Kubuntu. You'll be able to get, you know, the back ports to it and upgrade to 5.14. As a matter of fact, I keep getting questions, people asking me about upgrading Plasma to 5.14 or whatever desktop to the next desktop environment in these Ubuntu releases. Now, you guys have to realize that they are static releases. So the point is, for being stable, you stay on the same thing, right? 5.13. It just works. You just stay on it for 6 months, and then when you update to the next version of Ubuntu, then you get a new desktop environment. If you're wanting to be on Plasma 5.14 now, and then 5.15 in a couple of months, and then 5.16 a couple of months, you really need to be on a rolling release if that's what you're trying to do. Some of these people are trying to basically put a square peg in a round hole. They're trying to be on a rolling release without actually being on a rolling release. And, you know, you can run into problems doing that.
You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Right. That's kind of like the old question. You hear it all the time. What's the most stable rolling release distro? Well, Debian stable. It's where you know, it's not a rolling release, but why don't you pick a, you know, if you want stable, there's stable distros. If you want rolling release, there's rolling release, but you're not going to get this magical, this unicorn, right? It doesn't exist, the stable rolling release.
I honestly don't mind rolling with the Ubuntu's every 6 months, to be honest.
They're really, yeah, I mean, and you can kind of roll with Ubuntu because if you want a true rolling experience on Ubuntu, 18.10 just came out. In about 2 or 3 weeks, the development release for 1904 will start getting going. Just move on to that. Always stay on the development release, and you just roll along with Ubuntu. Now, it's going to be buggy, but if that's what you want to do.
Ubuntu has an upgrade type thing that you can do to actually just roll your old distro up into their new one.
Right. And if you want a real kind of rolling experience rather than waiting every 6 months and doing it all at one time every 6 months, what you do is you just stay on the development release. So in a couple weeks, just switch over to 1904, the pre-alpha 1904, which will eventually roll into 1904 next April. 2 weeks after that, go ahead and get on 1910's development release, and you just keep rolling with that. Again, I wouldn't suggest that for anybody that's not kind of an enthusiast, a power user, because things are going to break. You're going to have to fix some things. I've done it years ago. I used to do some beta testing with the Ubuntus, and they weren't as stable as they are now. Like the alphas and betas of Ubuntu now, you can actually install them on your machine and live in them. No problem. I did. There was one version of Ubuntu years ago. It was the very first one they switched from GNOME 2 to Unity. 1104. I installed like the alpha of that thing, and I went through the entire development cycle of that as a tester, you know, reported bugs and everything. And that was the buggiest, most unstable distro you will ever run in your life. I reinstalled that thing half a dozen times, but that was like that was strange because you're moving from GNOME 2 to GNOME 3, but really not moving to GNOME 3. You're going to do your own desktop environment, Unity. It was just a nightmare. But really, yeah.
I remember it being like that back during Kubuntu when they were transitioning from KDE 3 to KDE 4. That was really bad.
Right. But other than those kind of like major changes where everything about the system is changing, like the Ubuntu releases now, yeah, you can install, alpha, beta, whatever, and it's fine.
Well, isn't that just the change of the desktop environment then?
Yeah. Yeah, for example, eventually GNOME 4 is going to start getting worked on. That might not be the one to jump on the development release for. Might leave that for the real testers out there. Don't think you're going to install something like that on your machine and live in it.
I could live on GNOME anyway.
Yeah. GTK4 has been seeing a lot of development recently.
Yeah, it's coming. You're about to see the push for GNOME 4, GTK4, and Plasma. Now that it's getting really good, Plasma 5. Pretty soon they're gonna want to break it again. We're gonna move to, because that's the cycle. When KDE 3, that series got really, really nice. The 3.5 series. Okay, it's really good. Let's break it and start over. Same thing with GNOME. GNOME 2.32, whatever that last version was really nice. Okay, we've done all we can to this. It's really nice. Let's break it. Let's start all over. It's the cycle.
And then someone will probably fork Plasma like they did with forking KDE 3 with Trinity.
Guaranteed. That is a guarantee.
Or Mac.
Well, it's kind of like how they make a car, They make a model and then they perfect it till it's a really great car, and it's like, oh, we gotta make a new model, and then they start out with another pile of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, we can't have nice things in Linux. But what's my line? Linux should hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Not as much as Windows.
Well, it's a different kind of a pain in Windows, though.
That's a psychological pain.
It really is. Yeah, it's not physical. It's more mental.
And Macs.
I've never owned a Mac personally. I've used Macs, especially old Macs back in the day. I won't comment on them. Any of you guys Mac users, regular Mac users?
Last Mac I worked on, I think, had Snow Leopard.
Yeah. That was a while ago. That's like, what is that? 8 years ago, or yeah.
I have no experience other than the phones.
Same here.
I actually have never used one of their phones, oddly enough. The iPhones. Yeah, Snow Leopard. Actually came out June 2009. Yeah, so about 9 years ago. Well, still looks the same though. The Mac OS always looks the same. Top panel, dock.
Back then, slow. This Mac I was working on was so slow. That's why I never wanted one.
Well, the Macs, their hardware, I mean, everybody likes to talk about it. It's such good hardware, but doesn't it seem kind of dated? Like the CPUs and GPUs in these machines, they're not like cutting edge.
Yeah.
It's more like people talk about. Yeah.
The big thing is that it's really bad. Value. It's a bad value proposition. You're paying a real premium for very dated hardware. I believe that's what's been going on for the last half decade or so.
Well, I'll give them credit. Like the displays on these machines are great, like the MacBook Pros. The chassis seems solid. I mean, that kind of thing. But yeah, when you're talking about like internal components, CPU, GPU, RAM, it's like, yeah, why not build your own machine, or buy a PC, or buy something without an operating system, install Linux on it, or.
Well, it seems like ever since Steve Jobs passed away, they can't really invent any new technology or any new hardware to make it, worth the price.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if that really has anything to do with Jobs his passing because I mean he wasn't a programmer or a developer. I mean he was just more of a cheerleader.
He was a visionary. He had a vision and he made it come to reality.
Mm.
All right. Any comments? That's everybody. Nobody wants to comment on that. Okay, we'll leave that alone. It's too soon anyway.
Yeah, I guess I stuck my foot in my mouth.
It just was an awkward silence. It felt like about 5 of us wanted to say something, and nobody wanted to be the first one to jump in. You know, I mean, I'm not one of those that I won't give Steve Jobs any credit for anything. The one thing that really bugged me about like back when he passed, you know, all the coverage about he was this great visionary and you know he did so much for computing and for mankind and all this, and like that same week he died, didn't Dennis Ritchie die? I don't know if any of you guys know.
He died around the same time, I believe.
And he got like no press, right? Wasn't anything on CNN or the BBC or anything. Nobody wrote articles on the front page of newspapers about Dennis Ritchie, who created Unix and he created the C programming language. Now you want to talk about somebody that changed the course of history and really made a difference. Steve Jobs doesn't even compare to him, but because of their roles, I don't know. Just seemed like, it was a shame that Ritchie didn't get the kind of credit he deserved, even in passing, much less during the course of his life.
Yeah, I looked it up. Dennis Ritchie died a week after Steve Jobs.
Yes, yeah. Because I remember it was really close, and anybody that was running any kind of Unix-like operating system, like Linux, BSD, or programmers. I mean, he created the C programming language. I mean, what would we be doing without Unix and C?
Fortran?
Yeah, exactly. What I mean, COBOL. No. Basic. Yeah. No.
Well, guys, I'm going to have to jump off. I need to go to work in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sadly.
That's what I'm going to be doing. Guys, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for hanging out, Dan.
Yeah. Good night.
Yeah, thanks for having me on too, DT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Climby, I'll see you next Saturday.
Yep. See ya.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. See you, Paul. And we can go ahead and kill the stream since it's time for everybody to jump off. I was going to jump off in a few minutes anyway.
Okay.
So, Climby.
Yeah,
thanks, Christopher. Let's get a quick last word. Any last comments you guys want to throw out there before we kill the stream? Climby, you got anything for us?
I enjoyed the chats like always. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, this was fun. I'm glad we did it. These are always entertaining and relaxing. I don't know about for you guys. It's the end of a day for me. I like just sitting here, being able to drink a beer and chat with my internet friends. So.
Yeah.
All right. Q1. Last words.
It was a pleasure joining you guys again. Try out Kubuntu 18.10. I've got it installed on this laptop, and I'm enjoying it so far.
All right. Sounds cool. I'm thinking about doing Budgie on my ThinkPad. So I'll let you guys maybe next week. We do a chat next week. Let you know how Ubuntu Budgie is doing on real hardware. So. All right, Christopher. Last word, sir.
Thanks for letting one of the non-patron plebs on.
Yeah. Well, we usually do these every Sunday mornings. What we've been doing, and they're usually open to the public. I try to do one of these patron-only chats a month, though.
Yeah, I could see why both as it sort of limits who gets in and what you and sort of gives something that actually contributes. But yeah, it's pretty good. I like these chats.
Yeah. If you follow the channel, if you follow the channel, look for these every Sunday. Like I said, we usually do these Sunday morning here in the U.S.
Yeah.
This time around, we had to do it in the evening. But yeah, look for us again next Sunday.
Yeah, it's so thanks for that. I wish I got to talk about my install problems with Void and Nix so far, but I'll leave that for another day.
Okay. Well, before I go, I do need to do my last word. This show was made possible by Ansem, Carlos, David, Leo, Rob, and Tony. Also brought to you by the fine ladies and gentlemen. You guys see all the supporters of the channel, their names on the screen. If you enjoy this video, please consider supporting the chat or the channel. Look for me, DistroTube, over on Patreon. Alright guys, appreciate all you guys hanging out. Christopher, if you want to talk about your problems, we'll hang out a little bit off
I'll
the
leave
live stream.
it for next week or
or
the week.
we'll catch you next Sunday. Alright guys, peace.
Okay, bye.